Good morning. This is an interview with Ricky Ruiz, who is running for, correct me if I'm wrong, House District 50?
That's correct.
Great. Ricky, why don't you, you're the Democratic Party nominee, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us why you're running?
Yeah, well, my name is Ricky Ruiz. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I am the proud Democrat, Independent, and Working Families nominee for State Representative for House District 50. I am 26 years old. I've lived in District 50, which covers the majority of the city of Gresham and a small portion of East Portland for the last 26 years. A little bit about myself. My parents migrated from Mexico in the 1980s, made Trato for their home, and then moved to Gresham in 1990 and have lived in Gresham since then. I've gone through the public education system. I went through the Reynolds School District from K to 12, became the first to graduate high school from my family, pursued higher education at Portland Community College for 2 years and Warner Pacific University, and received a bachelor's in social entrepreneurship, and became the first to graduate college in my family as well, and to receive a bachelor's degree in my family. In 2017, I ran for my first elected office, which is the Reynolds School District Board of Directors, and became the youngest school board director at age 22 in 2017. I got reelected for another term in 2019, and now I am running for state representative to represent the great District 50 at age 26.
Great. Could you remind me what it is you do for a living?
Yeah, I work for the city of Gresham. I'm the community services coordinator. I've been working in that position for over 5 years now.
Great. I remember this from the primary. You do a tremendous amount of work in the community. You've got like 15 different hats, as I recall.
That sounds about right.
So let's say you get elected. What's the first piece of legislation you'd like to pursue?
It's a very good question. To be honest with you, I haven't thought all the way ahead. Right now, I'm focusing on my campaign and making sure that I win in order to introduce my first piece of legislation. But if it covered a topic or a theme or one of my priorities, it would probably include anything in the education system, in the healthcare system, or the housing system. So I haven't thought ahead on what that would look like, but just know that it will cover one of those three. The reason why I haven't foreshadowed to what it could be once I'm in session, once I could be in session, is because I'm taking this campaign serious. We never know what could happen. I want to ensure that I am in that position, and I am thinking of all the bills and legislation that I want to pass moving forward. But in order for that to happen, I need to win this campaign, and November 3rd we'll find out if that happens or not.
So what needs are you hearing from your district of things they want?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I'm hearing is housing, stability and affordability. Given COVID-19 and all the rent freezes that are happening, a lot of my constituents are worried about what's going to happen after the rent freezes are up. Are we getting kicked out of our apartments? How much time do we have to pay all the rent that we owe? And that's a very very serious concern that a lot of my constituents have. So how does the state and local government help families and residents stay at their home, especially those who have been living there for years, especially those who have families and little kids, or there's a disability or elderly residents as well. So I think coming into the session, if I'm given the opportunity, is being able to look into ways that we can keep all our residents and families in their homes without them being kicked out.
Rachel, do you have questions?
I always have questions. How would you say the state's response to the pandemic has affected your district, the governor in particular?
Yeah, I think all of us could have done a better job. There's no question, right? That I mean, even myself, when I first announced that I was running for office, and someone would have told me that I was going to run in the middle of a pandemic, I would have asked, "What's a pandemic?" I think I read about that when I was in 6th grade, and I think all of us were caught off guard. No one was prepared for this. My hats off to the governor and to everybody who's who's been responsive and who's been leading these efforts. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of it comes down to um, pattern of behavior, whether we want to wear a face mask or not, whether we want to wash our hands or not, whether are we touching our face or not. And even given those circumstances, I think there's a lot of people that take mandates very serious, and there's people that don't. Um, and we're seeing in my district, there's been a lot of stuff going on in Gresham, and there's been a lot of rallies, a lot of Trump supporters who are showing up to take down the Black Lives Matter flag that was in Gresham City Hall, and you would see how all of those folks, if not the majority of them, had no face masks. They were not respecting social distancing, and that's what could have caused a bigger increase of COVID-19 cases. All it takes is one person to be infected, and that one person was in the middle of that crowd. Um, that could have gone really bad. So around PPE gear, I think not only in my district but across many districts in the state of Oregon, we suffered the shortfalls of PPE gear, not only in our healthcare facilities but also in our memory care facilities, our school facilities, or even our stores as well, to protect our workers. So there's no question that we were not prepared for this, and I hope that if we ever go through another pandemic in the future, that we are well prepared, well educated, and we have the experts giving us the advice. And I'd rather listen to experts and scientists than politicians.
How are you inclined to vote on the metro transportation measure?
I'm still undecided. I'm hearing a lot of up and downs, and I think it's one of those things in where there was more to read from the beginning, and there's still a lot to unpack. So it's one of the things that even my folks are asking me about how would I vote, and I was inclining towards a yes, because I feel like there is a piece of it where they will help youth who will obtain passes for free in order to access the transportation system. But just hearing other constituents as well, even when I'm making phone calls about they bringing up the transportation tax, the metro tax through metro. There's a lot of worry there from my constituents as well. So my duty is to make sure that I'm educated, and I'm educating those who want to get educated as well.
Are there any ways that you think that you can point to that you will be independent from your caucus? Is there, like, going in that you have like a difference of opinion from the mainline Democratic position? I mean, the metro transportation is a little bit that way, though there are plenty of Democrats who oppose that at this point, but I'm wondering if there's anything else.
Yeah, it all depends. I think if I'm given the opportunity to work with everybody, I would see, uh, you know, um, kind of like the behaviors or the patterns or how the caucus works as a whole. I already think I'm different than the caucus. I'm 26 years old and I'm a person of color. I think that already sets me apart. And I call myself a progressive. And um, but I think with anything, I think the caucus is changing. I think leadership is going to be changing as well. And even those who are being elected to office to elect as a state representative are changing. So demographics are changing, leadership is changing, and I'm just excited to work with everybody and learn from everybody, and also hold my values to heart, because I have my own values, I have my constituents' values, my family values that could be different from people who represent a different district across the state of Oregon.
So you've talked a little about what a crazy time this has been the last few weeks. What is it, just the campaigning? What is it you're doing these days?
Yeah. Well, it's just so many things. I think the campaign is a big part of it. A regular campaign, you're usually knocking on doors, hosting fundraiser parties, and talking to people and shaking people's hands. And obviously, this time around, we couldn't do that, and we had to get very creative on how we're going to be able to outreach to voters across my district, and ensure that we registered even new voters to vote this November 3rd. So that aspect is just making it more challenging, because I'm not interacting with folks face to face. Either it's through Zoom, Google Hangouts, or a phone call or text message. So that's been challenging. In my line of work, I think there's just been a reality check, right, of like so many families that are relying on assistance around food assistance, around electric bill assistance, rental assistance. And I've been working with all those folks in my actual job as a community services coordinator for the city of Gresham, connecting families and individuals with those resources. I'm overloaded with the work cases that I have, because there's just more and more families asking for help, and there's a lot of families that haven't received unemployment yet, and that's also a big aspect of myself, of helping them access those resources. So I would do this on a regular year, but this year, given COVID-19, it's definitely been a lot more crazy, and I'm just a one-person department, so I'm taking care of all of this.
Okay. How do you, like, this is kind of an obvious question, but how do you distinguish yourself from your opponent, Amelia Salvador? What's the biggest difference between the two of you?
Yeah, well, I've grown up in this district for 26 years. I've lived in the city of Gresham for 26 years. I think I got myself involved in local advocacy when I was 16 years old. So one can say I've been a local activist for over 10 years. I've worked in the government for over 8 years, and I've held elected office almost for over 3 years now. I have the strong support of many well-known organizations, unions, and local leaders that have done that work ever since I was a kid, and I continue to do that work till this day. So I mean, I'm proud to be endorsed by Oregon AFL-CIO, Planned Parenthood, NARO Pro-Choice, and local leaders in my district as well, like Congressman Earl Blumenauer, Senator Jeff Merkley, Councilors Eddie Morales, Vince Jones-Dixon, Mario Palmero from Gresham City Council. So the list of supporters and the list of those who believe in me is a lot greater than my opponents. And I don't want to take anything away from my opponent, but I feel like, she seems like a very nice individual who cares about her community as well. But it just happens that I think I'm the better equipped and I'm more ready to represent District 50.
Great. We have a fun question we ask every cycle, which is an attempt to get to know you a little bit. And in this cycle, it is, what's the most awkward moment you've had on a Zoom call?
I think just a week ago, I was talking to a couple. I had just a Zoom call meeting, and my dog has this really bad habit that when he sees him, he just jumps on my face all the time. So I'm on a Zoom call, and it's just pretend the dog just comes and smacks me in my face. And everybody saw it. So he's a very cute Corgi Chihuahua mix that does not care about boundaries and doesn't care about, getting in my bubble. Whenever he sees me, he just wants to hug me and kiss me. So that's what happened a week ago. And I'm sure there's video somewhere of it. So I'm sure to post it because I feel like it was really, really cute. So that it was an awkward moment. I think it was the most adorable moment of the Zoom call for sure.
What's your dog's name?
His name is Rocky.
Nice.
The Adventures of Ricky and Rocky. So,
is it spelled with an I too?
Okay, I was going to spell it with an I, and my family stopped me. Why? And so I'm a little upset about that. It's Rocky Ruiz. He's 4 years old, and he's like the baby of the family.
That's very solid. All right. Well, Ricky, I really appreciate you finding time with us. I'm going to go write this up because we have like 25 minutes to deadline.
Yo, I'm so sorry.
Thank you very much for finding time in the middle of a busy campaign. I appreciate it, and it was nice to meet you.
Of course. Take care, both of you.
Bye.
City.